Welcome. In this video we are going to discuss about gel electrophoresis of proteins, and we are going to start with SDS page, that is sodium dodecyl sulfate polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. Now the electrophoretic separation of proteins is mostly performed by using polyacrylamide gels. Now the relative movement of proteins in the polyacrylamide gel depends upon the charge density, that is charge per unit mass, then mass or size of the protein, and then shape of the protein. Okay, on these three things the relative movement of proteins depends in a polyacrylamide gel. Now consider two proteins. If they have same mass and same shape, then one with greater charge density will move faster in the gel, and if the two proteins are having same charge density and shape, then one with smaller size will move faster through the gel. Okay, if the mass and shape are the same, then the charge density will decide who is going to go faster, and if the charge density and shape are same, then the size is going to decide who is going to move fast. Now shape is also a factor which determines the migration of proteins in the gel. Okay, now the compact globular proteins will move rapidly as compared to elongated fibrous proteins, even though both of them will be having a comparable mass. Okay, even if the mass is same but the structure is compact, then that will move faster as compared to the fibrous structure. Now in SDS page, in this technique, the proteins are exposed to sodium dodecyl sulfate, which is a negatively charged anionic detergent, before and during gel electrophoresis. Okay, before gel electrophoresis and as well as during gel electrophoresis, the proteins are exposed to sodium dodecyl sulfate. Now this SDS binds to the main chains of the proteins in the ratio of 1 SDS to 2 amino acid residues, and because of this there is a large negative charge on the protein to which the SDS is binding to. Now this native charge on the protein, which is there because of the binding of SDS, is much greater. Okay, this native charge is much greater as compared to the charge on the native protein, so greater that this native charge becomes insignificant. Okay, you know that the proteins are the charged molecules. They have the positively charged amino group in them and the negatively charged carboxyl group, right? But that charge becomes insignificant in front of this negative charge which is developed because of the binding of SDS. Now if the protein is having very large positive charge or negative charge, then that charge may not be negligible in front of the charge which is produced by the bound SDS. Most of the time is, but sometimes this case will be also there. Okay, for example, histone 1. Okay, now the molecular mass, the actual molecular mass of this protein is 21 kilodalton, but during gel electrophoresis, okay, it behaves like 30 kilodalton molecule. And why is that? Because this histone H1 is having a strong positive charge. Okay, that's why. So this is the molecular structure of your sodium dodecyl sulfate. Okay, so there is a long chain of CH2, 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 CH2. Now this sodium dodecyl sulfate denatures the protein. Okay, SDS denatures the protein, and that causes the multimeric protein to dissociate into their subunit, and that is how the polypeptide chains are forced into the extended conformation. Now, along with SDS, the proteins are also subjected to beta-mercaptoethanol to break the interchain and intrachain disulfide bonds. Okay, so the interchain and intrachain disulfide bonds which are present in the protein structures are broken by the beta-mercaptoethanol. Okay, this beta-mercaptoethanol is a reducing agent that cleaves the disulfide bonds. Okay, so this is your single subunit protein. It is having a disulfide bond in it. Then you subject it to the beta-mercaptoethanol. Okay, now this disulfide bond is broken and this structure is getting produced. Now you treat this structure with SDS, and now what is happening is the polypeptide chain is forced into the extended conformation, and it also have the negative charge all over it. Okay, so that is how the beta-mercaptoethanol and SDS functions with respect to your protein. And if there is a protein with two subunits A and B joined by a disulfide bridge, okay, if the condition is like this, then first the beta-mercaptoethanol will break this bond between the two subunit, and this two subunit will be separated and they will be subjected to SDS then, which will cause this polypeptide chain to be forced into this extended conformations and will be having negative charge as well, of course. So that is how this beta-mercaptoethanol and SDS is acting in case of this kind of proteins. Now, proteins treated with SDS have similar charge to mass ratio. This is because the amount of SDS that binds the per unit weight of the protein is constant, and it is 1.4 gram SDS per 1 gram of protein. And because of this, the proteins treated with SDS have similar charge to mass ratio. Thus, SDS treatment eliminates the effect of the differences in the shape and in the charge density, so that the chain length should be the sole determinant of the migration rate of protein during SDS page technique. Okay, so the rate at which the protein should migrate should only depend on its chain length, that is its mass, and not on its shape and charge density, and that is made sure by the SDS treatment. Now the separating gel of 15% polyacrylamide is being used normally, and this 15% polyacrylamide results in the formation of a particular pore size through which 10 kilodalton proteins move freely. Okay, proteins which having molecular weight up to 10 kilodalton, those kind of proteins move freely, but the proteins which are having molecular weight of 100 kb can only enter into the pores. Okay, they don't move. Okay, so that is the reason why the 15% polyacrylamide gel is used to separate proteins which are having molecular weight from 10 kilodalton to 100 kilodalton. And if you want to separate proteins which are having molecular weight of 100 kilodalton and maybe even more than that, then you have to use a 10% or 7% polyacrylamide gel for that purpose. Now, estimating the molecular weight of a protein. Now, molecular weight of a particular protein can be estimated by comparing its distance of migration in the gel with the distance of the protein of the known molecular weight. Okay, so there is a gel, you run the unknown protein, okay, the protein whose mass is unknown, and you also run a protein whose molecular weight is known, and then you compare both of their rate of migration. You compare the distances that both the proteins have covered, and that is how you estimate the molecular weight of the protein that you don't know. So the electrophoretic mobility of the protein in the SDS polyacrylamide gel is related to its molecular weight mR. Okay, the electrophoretic mobility is related to the molecular weight. Standard proteins with known molecular weight are subjected to electrophoresis, and these proteins are separated into the series of bands. Then the plot of log of mR, that is the plot of log of molecular weight of these marker proteins versus the distance migrated, will give a straight line, and that is how the electrophoretic mobility is related to the molecular weight. Okay, the plot of the log of molecular weight of this marker proteins versus the distance migrated gives a straight line. Okay, so that is how the protein of unknown molecular weight is electrophoresed with two or more known molecular weight proteins, and on the basis of that the unknown molecular weight is calculated at the accuracy of 5 to 10%. Okay, so this is how it looks. Okay, this is your gel. This is the standard proteins with their molecular weights. For example, lysozyme is having this molecular weight, then all of this, then beta galactosidase is there, then myosin is there. Okay, so this lane is for the highest. Okay, this position is having the protein which is having the highest molecular weight, and as the molecular weight reduces, the band is also going forward. Okay, so this band is having proteins which has the lowest molecular weight. Okay, because if it is having the lowest molecular weight, then it is capable to travel the longest distance. Okay, that is how it is. So you make this band, along with you have this protein whose mass you don't know, and now you can compare both of this thing and you can estimate that this protein is having a molecular weight between 45,000 to 66,200. Okay, in between these the molecular weight of this unknown protein lies, and this is that this is that straight line that we talked about, which is between the log of molecular weight of the proteins and their distance traveled during migration. So this SDS page is rapid, it is sensitive, and it is capable of giving you high degree of resolution. Now the bands which are generated by the electrophoretic separation can be located by the variety of techniques. Okay, most of the time the proteins in the bands are visualized by staining. Now this Osma C Brilliant Blue, okay, this dye is the most widely used dye, and it binds to proteins and don't bind to gel, and that is the reason why it is a very good option to use for viewing the bands. After this fluoresamine and silver stain, okay, these are the alternative types of the protein stain. Okay, this fluoresamine is a non-fluorescent molecule, and these two are serving as alternative types for protein staining. Now in case of silver staining, the silver ions reduces the metallic silver which is present on the protein, and that is how the silver is deposited, which is viewed as a black or brown band. Okay, so this is how the silver staining works. There are metallic silver on the protein that are reduced, and then that reduced silver looks like a black or brown band. So that is all for this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.